This is Luke from the Queen City Soccer Show. I'm here with Michael LaHoud. We're at the Soccer Tournament 2025. We are on day 3, and it is crazy out here, Michael. How has the tournament been for you so far?
It's been incredible. When I think of the soccer tournament, and it's my 3rd year actually being a part of it, 2nd year playing and broadcasting, don't know what I'm thinking right now doing that, but I've loved it. And it's the closest thing we have to a soccer or footballing festival in the United States, and I love it.
Yeah, I tell people it's like a holiday for sports fans. You can come out here for a long weekend, take some time off of work, bring the family. There's something for everybody at the soccer tournament. My 3rd year also, just as a spectator in media. So what have you noticed this year compared to last year or the year before?
The biggest thing, and I wish people could see this, it's clubs being represented that 2 years ago when this thing started, it would have been a pipe dream. And you're wearing a Wrexham kit, Wrexham Red Dragons, man. The most incredible story in world football right now. Probably next up there with Scott McTominay winning the Serie A MVP, and this has been the year of the underdogs. But to see clubs like Wrexham, West Ham United, I mean, we're seeing Borussia Dortmund kits, and we're seeing kits of grassroots teams here in the United States as well. Reggae Rovers, some of the other ecosystem and soccer ecosystem clubs represented here. So it's kind of a culmination of a passion for the beautiful game, and that just warms my heart.
Absolutely, and I found doing these interviews with players, coaches, vendors, people just surrounding this event, that it's such a melting pot of all over the United States, all over the soccer world. They all come out to Cary, North Carolina, of all places. You mentioned Borussia Dortmund. Can you tell me about your involvement with the club? How did you get drafted to play in the soccer tournament here?
So my day job is with CBS Sports Golazo Network, and that's probably the number one question running around the office right now is, how the hell is this guy playing with that club? So the short of it is twofold. So one of my best friend, probably my best friend from college, Andrew Wright, is, for lack of a better word, I think he's one of their academy directors and sporting directors of their BVBs of the Americas, which is layman terms for their American affiliated academies. And he called me up and said, hey, would you be available anytime between June 1st and June 10th of 2024? Absolutely. I got nothing on my calendar. And then I got a call from his boss, Julius Everett, who was like, hey, I know you are a friend of Drew's, and I've been watching you on TV. You're one of the few guys saying something positive about our chances in the UEFA Champions League. And I'd been championing Dortmund as a side who could be the dark horse to win the Champions League. And what did they do? They went to the finals. So
yeah, there you go.
I got my crystal ball out. I must have been drinking that German lager in between games, but it pays to get some things right in the industry, and it was just everything coming together at the right moment.
So let that be a lesson for your aspiring broadcasters out there. Say nice things about a team, and they'll draft you into the soccer tournament.
Yeah, TST, that's a secret.
Well, I love it, dude. Your coverage on CBS is fantastic. I have been so impressed the last 2-3 years with what CBS has been doing in the soccer ecosystem coverage-wise with the US Open Cup and the Champions League coverage. Can you tell me what it's like over at CBS, and what is the like mission statement in terms of the coverage?
Well, we want to bring the world's game to your doorstep, my doorstep, and make soccer accessible. I think one of the things that's frustrated me so much since I moved to this country, and I'm originally from West Africa, in Africa, 24/7 you have access, and this is a third world continent, not just third world countries, a third world continent. You have 24/7 access, whether it be by radio, by television, and in some of the more affluent countries by streaming. In the United States, it is one of the least accessible countries. Over the last decade, that's changed significantly, but how can you have one of the most wealthiest countries have the least access to the biggest game, and in my opinion, the most special game? It's the world's game. And so for us at CBS Sports Golazo Network, we wanted to give something free to the public first. That's why it's 24/7 and streaming free. You can get it on Paramount Plus, but enough of the corporate mumbo jumbo. It's getting people who give a damn about the game, who have been one of you, fans. I'm a fan first. I was a former player, I'm a pundit now, but I'm a fan. I get up every day and I live, I breathe, I keep tabs on Charlotte FC.
Let's go.
I like what I'm seeing from Dean Smith
For
and
the
the
crowd.
boys. They got some ballers on the team, and it's been fun to both champion European football, international football, but what's happening here right in good old USA.
Absolutely. Well, hey, it's a good segue over here to Charlotte FC because we were talking before we started recording about some of the players with Charlotte FC, the U.S. national team. I know you have a favorite player. Can you tell me a little bit about Big Pat, Patrick Agyemang?
Look, man, Big Money Pat. This is a kid that's got great upside and he's got a bright future. And I know I'm not the only one. Charlie Davies and I, former U.S. men's national team striker, Charlie's very critical of strikers because he knows what it takes to be part of a Confederation Cup team that finished runners-up in 2009, and that's one of the benchmarks and standards of U.S. soccer history. And prior to the Nations League, he said, we need to talk about this kid more, Agyemang. I love his story. I love his humility. And having interviewed him twice now, he's got hunger.
Yeah.
And there's more to this kid than just his frame. He's got all the intangibles, and for Mauricio Pochettino, in an age where we question the commitment of the national team players, that's a kid that wants to be there, and that's a kid that I want to see on my TV screens and at stadiums all across this country and North America. A year from now, he needs to be on that plane and on that squad.
I completely agree. And we'll come back to the question about the mentality of some other players, but I want to talk about Patrick Agyemang a little bit more because to me, he's an example of a few different storylines kind of coming together. He's on a rookie minimum contract in MLS. Out of the MLS Super Draft. Yeah. So the MLS Super Draft has often been looked down upon by the majority of teams, and Charlotte FC's hit it out of the park with their draft signings. Patrick Agyemang, I don't even think he was a first-round draft pick.
No, it wasn't.
But diamond in the rough, he's been underestimated every step along the way. He came from an impoverished community in Connecticut, which has been overlooked. In one of his interviews, he said, there were no pro players that came out of my high school in any sport. And I love going back to Hartford and being able to show them, look, you can do it. You can become big time. But he hasn't quite made the big time yet in a lot of people's eyes. Every step along the way, from junior college to Division I with Rhode Island, he's been asked to change positions, and he was never part of that pay-to-play pipeline because they didn't have the resources for him. This is a kid who should have been scouted by the U.S. youth national teams. He should have been involved, not even in D1, but maybe a trip to Europe. And you see him at 23 years old with Charlotte FC, and he has less experience than some of these 17-year-olds in Europe. So what is it about that story that you think could be an improvement for the U.S. system?
Well, it breaks the mold, right? And I'm not a fan of the current system. I've never been a fan of it. And I'm someone who grew up prior to academy systems, we had ODP. And in order for things to grow, in order for things to get better, we need to get to the grassroots problem of it. And I've heard people stand up on their soapboxes, the system is the problem, you need to burn the systems down. But I don't hear anyone coming up with problem solving of it. Yeah. And so I'm going to try and make an attempt at problem solving. Get out of the suburbs and go down to the barrios, go down to the hood, go down to where players are playing on a Monday after school with a ball with Gatorade cups and cans for goals. That's where you're going to find your force to be reckoned with. That's where people all around the world find their star players. Wayne Rooney was playing in the backyard streets, in the streets of Liverpool, in the ghetto of Liverpool, man. And Everton found him.
You talk about Brazil, the people who scout Brazil, they're out there in the impoverished communities because that's where they find.
And it's amazing. And right now, arguably the best player in the world, you can be Ousmane Dembele, you can be Lamine Yamal, but the best player in the world, in my opinion, is Lamine Yamal. He came from an immigrant community outside of Barcelona.
Yeah.
And Barcelona went and expanded their scouting network. They didn't go to the posh neighborhoods. They went to an immigrant, impoverished community, heard about a kid who was special, and they gave him a chance. And so giving a Patrick Agyemang for Charlotte FC to be the club to give him a chance, it'll be the U.S. men's national team and Mauricio Pochettino's biggest benefit. All kids like him, and all kids that'll come after him, the Diego Lunas, all they need is a chance. And for U.S. soccer, please, for the love of God, keep giving these sorts of players chances, man.
So I think I have a transition here. We'll see. You're the professional broadcaster. Yeah. You're telling me about this. So Patrick Agyemang, I say he has like a $10 million smile. He's the kind of guy with that marketing potential because he's humble. He's going to grind. He's going to work hard. He played winger in college, and he's seen play striker now, and he doesn't have the movements yet. He doesn't have a lot of the skills up top that you would expect, but he's a big physical presence, and he's going to keep his nose to the grindstone and go after it every single day. Now, we talk about the U.S. national team, and what do they have? What do they lack? You have Christian Pulisic, who's missing out on the Gold Cup because he's burnt out from playing, 1,000, 2,000 minutes in Italy. He had a great season. Good on him, respect. But this is the guy who's touted as Captain America. He's on the face of all the marketing campaigns, not Patrick Agyemang, right? So, what is it about the not the MLS work ethic, but the direction the U.S. national team needs to go in terms of mentality that you would want to see?
So I'm always going to be a player's player, and I know that this is probably one of the most intense debates, and maybe it's not a debate for the soccer public, but for Christian, I'm disappointed, and I think everyone else is sharing their disappointment. Some people are angry, some people are questioning his commitment. I want to go back to before this decision was made. Christian did not miss a camp. And the decision for him to leave after one game in one of Potts' first camp, or maybe it was the second, was a Potts decision.
Yeah.
So the Christian thing aside, I'm disappointed. And whenever your biggest player, or most marketable player, isn't there ahead of a World Cup year, ahead of the timing of the team not being in a good place right now, that is always going to be a talking point. But I hope that the same sense of accountability we hold Christian with, I hope we hold the Yunus Musas. I'm upset with that. And I'm a big Yunus Musa advocate, but there are players, those are the guys that I'm questioning their commitment.
And like you said, it's not just one player. It seems to be what I'd call a locker room issue.
Yeah.
These are guys who see each other a few times a year to play together. They're not usually on the same teams. We talked about a golden generation 5-10 years ago after we missed the World Cup. I mean, is it time to declare that maybe we were too hasty in coronating them?
I think a lot of us got swept up in the YouTube Wikipedia pages of these players, and we've never before seen players winning Champions League titles, being on Champions League teams, and going for some of the biggest domestic cups and the biggest titles in world football. And so these young players, they benefited from the likes of the Claudio Reynas of the world, the Greg Berhalters, who were part of that 2002 group that moved and pushed the standards for the U.S. men's national team, the Clint Dempseys, who were playing in UEFA Cup finals with Fulham. But now there's a sense of responsibility that this team, every group in the national team program has a coming-of-age moment. And this is their coming-of-age moment. The previous groups didn't have to deal, outside of the 94 group, they didn't have to deal with the pressure of hosting a World Cup. And so now I want to see these not-so-young boys who are acting like boys, and they really look like a group of boys in the Nations League. I want to see them become grown-ass men and act like grown-ass men at the Gold Cup and at the next World Cup. And a guy that is going to be the symbol of it all, that I think this national team has missed from a leadership standpoint, is Tyler Adams. Christian is not the captain. Tyler is who you need to build a team around. And just like we saw Argentina, they won the World Cup not because Lionel Messi was just the face, because Rodrigo de Paul took ownership of the team, because the rest of your team, Christian Romero, those were the guys that led the team, and they knew they had a special player. Look, they have arguably the greatest player ever to play the game, but they had a special player and a special talent. And the U.S. men's national team, with Christian, they have a special player who, if everyone works and works around him, you'll have success.
It's really interesting. We're talking a lot about the national team. Charlotte FC plays into a little bit. We have Tim Ream, obviously, USMNT in that captain conversation, maybe depending on the match. Tyler Adams is such a good call out, though, because he is that kind of guy that you would think has the work ethic and has that kind of drive. But it needs to be a collection of guys. It can't just be one guy. We have a short time running up to the World Cup. What are some actionable steps you think can be taken?
I want to see a bit of grit. These group of players, the Diego Lunas of the world, we've seen enough from Diego Luna.
Broken nose.
To that, his performance on the field, the desire, the passion, the commitment.
Yeah.
That's a guy. Patrick, him being a striker that looks like he is hungry to prove a point.
Yeah.
That's a guy. And take chances on some of these young guys. Going back to 2002, Bruce Arena made two big calls. And we know them as DeMarcus Beasley and Landon Donovan. And they are two U.S. soccer legends. Now Mauricio Pochettino has a chance to make two big calls of his own to put his stamp on the U.S. men's national team. And we know what Tyler can do, but give this team to Tyler. Have the support of a Team Ream, who you need players who have been there and done that and are the calming forces, the wise heads of the team. But man, give young players a chance. I think that was something that if Greg Berhalter was still part of the national team fold, Patrick and Diego Luna would never be in the spaces they're in. So as much as we're disappointed with Christian and the first team guys, when one door closes, when the first team players don't come, new doors open. And as someone who, as a player, benefited from when a captain wasn't there, when a face of a club wasn't there, it's time to eat, man. So I want to see who is ready to take full advantage of their opportunity, because it's next man up.
Fantastic. I love everything you just said. You mentioned DeMarcus Beasley in there, so that's another presence from the U.S. national team who was kind of a day one TST supporter. He had a team in the very first iteration of this tournament. So I'm going to shift gears here. We'll talk about the soccer tournament. This is a completely different type of contest. It's a very fast-paced game, 2 20-minute halves, and then you go into target score time. Can you tell me, for the soccer heads out there who have not been exposed to TST, what is this like?
So, for those of you who gripe, moan, complain about soccer ending in ties, I think the first thing that TST has gotten right is there can be no ties. Every game counts, every game matters, and if that's not a slogan or mantra for the soccer tournament, they need to pay me extra to make it. I'm going to give you that one for free. I'm going to give the podcast that one for free. You can do whatever you will, maybe use it as your own. And so it keeps you engaged and on the tip of your toes, on the edge of your seat every single minute. I just came off a game, I think it was League of Foot and Sneaky Foxes. And Sneaky Fox, owned by Mike McGee, MLS legend. All he does is win with the Galaxy, or did as a player. Alan Gordon as well. Sam Cronin, former teammate in college and good friend of mine who played for a bunch of teams, had success. But it brings together every single part of the soccer ecosystem, and I think it brings together this sense of soccer culture, footy culture, that exists here in the U.S. So your content creators, teams like Drip FC, they have a team.
Oh yeah.
Players that play in the Baller League in the UK. You heard the PK Humble song? Well, PK Humble is here dancing and stomping on fools. I actually called a game where he scored one of the best goals in the tournament. So it's really bringing people together and giving everyone a chance to go and express themselves. And talking with first-time players from Atletico Madrid, there's that sense of competitiveness that as a player, if you don't have success the first time out, you'll see a lot of these guys back, man. It stokes a competitive fire in everyone. So I'm really excited to see what this year does, but I'm even more excited to see the building blocks as we head into next year for the World Cup.
Fantastic. And all the games here at TST are streamed on TST's YouTube channel. They're on, select ones are on ESPN+, ESPNU. The folks can hear Michael calling some of these games. Fantastic. I appreciate your time. Let's go out on this question. We're into day 3 here.
Yeah.
Who are some of your favorites on the men's side and the women's side?
Oh, man. On the men's side, it's always hard to count out Newtown Pride FC, and Newtown Pride won in the first year, and their manager, Abasi, he's so tapped in. They may have one of the 2 best players in this competition in Gabe Costa. He is so intelligent. I'd love to see him get a chance at some of the outdoor teams, because I think his game translates. And it's hard to bet against Concafa, man. They got the catchiest song, and Concafa. But they made their smartest decision in recruiting Chad Porch. And talking with U.S. Soccer legend Tony Miola, he said this to me. He said he thinks Chad Porch is the best player at this competition, and an MLS team needs to take a gamble. So Dean Smith, Charlotte FC, I'm giving you this guy for free, and I'm going to talk about him when I go back to work on Monday for the Golazo Network. He could come in and be a super sub or an impact player for any team in the league.
I love it. I might talk to some contacts over at Charlotte FC and see if we can get that going. I love Concafa because the arena boys over there are sick. I mean, these guys are absolute ballers. The mentality, like Meat and the boys, they're just absolutely crazy. Thank you so much for your time, Michael. I appreciate it. This is the Queen City Soccer Show. You can find us on social media at QCSpod, wherever great podcasts are sold. And we'll catch you next time. Michael, best of luck here on the broadcasting, and we'll see you around in a Charlotte FC game, right?
Would love to. I heard the mascot is a vibe, so would love to.
Sir Minty, he's our favorite. He's our royalty in the Queen City. We'll catch you next time, Michael. Cheers.